Carter, welcome to the Leafs Nation After Dark. How you feeling after this big Leafs victory here against the Kings tonight?
I'm good, Zach. Thanks for having me on, buddy. It's late night too, the 7:30 start here. Usually I'm in the wrapper by now, so this is staying up late here to join you.
I know it's one of those weird ones where it's like, hey, in Toronto we always get the 7 o'clock ones. We're wrapped up by 9:45. It's easier for like you, Rosie, and Nick to hop on here because I'm not asking you to come on at 10:30 at night. So I appreciate this from you here as well tonight.
No problem, man. Glad to be on, and obviously a good game to be on for. I thought the boys played well. A little tale of two games, but it's tricky. Like I feel like sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle of like professional hockey, right? These guys play so many games, and you're up 5-0. The game's kind of, like obviously not the way you want it to look in the third, and a little bit sloppy. But at times, like they buried them, and you look at the tale of two games where I think they made their push in the second there, and Stolarz was really good, and he made some timely saves. And then from there, you knew LA was going to come out with a fire lit under him, especially going into the second. And I thought the Leafs weathered that well. And then they get two, but I don't know. It's a pretty good game. There's obviously stuff to build on, but for me, Stolarz looks really, really good, and I think that's something with Woll's injuries and just his inconsistency, like just not being available. It's tough, and I think Stolarz is taking a good step here in the right direction.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you this. I watched your appearance on Morning Cup of Hockey. I think it was last week, and you got hit with the tough question as soon as you got on there. Um, they asked you about the Leafs President's Trophy. That was like their pick to win. I'm gonna ask you this. I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit. Obviously, you weren't prepared, but I was kind of hoping things would go this way for this game tonight. Stolarz 32 for 34 on the night, a 941 save percentage. Like it's not just the numbers, right? It's how good he's looked, how calm he looks, how the team and the coach speaks of him. Like everything is really kind of just supporting him and the impact that he's made. Um, Am I insane here to think that this could be just a runaway candidate for the number one goalie position here in Toronto? Like the way that he's jumped into this spot, we thought it was going to be a platoon, but you can't really rely on Woll, unfortunately, just based on injuries. It's not even his play, it's just availability. And Stolarz jumps into this spot. Like, could this be maybe even a sneaky Vesna kind of guy here behind this team?
Well, I think the Vezina is a stretch right now, but I like
Okay.
what you're thinking. I think at this point, though, like he is at a point in his career where he's played a lot of minutes. He's played a lot of protected minutes. Like he's definitely at the point where I think he's ready to take that jump to, be a 50 game guy, play 55. Where I think the biggest thing moving forward here with Woll is the fact of the matter is before at the start of the year, it kind of was this was his job, right? Like he kind of got the keys to the castle. Long he could stay healthy and play well. But for me, this is a factor of Stolarz is now there. Like, and he has the job. It's going to be his to run with. Now Woll's got to try to get that back. And that's kind of where I feel like I'm a big Joseph Woll fan, like a big, big fan of his game. But if you're not healthy, it just doesn't work, right? So this is
Mhm.
a factor this team needs to win come playoff time. I think Stolarz, just the way his demeanor is, you watch him tonight, and I didn't love his game early. I thought a few pucks off him, but he just settles in and he makes timely saves, and I feel like he's giving him that confidence. The Vesna candidate's a bit of a stretch for me. There's a few heavy hitters I still think in this league. You look at Shesterkin, you look at Swayman, Ottinger. There's a ton of guys here in that argument, but this is the thing. I think he can be the guy here, and I think he's going to be here for the next little bit. That's for sure.
Yeah, I was taking a swing with the Vesna. I'm watching this guy that's in there right now. The other thing is like how you mentioned it's like he settles in. I settle in watching him. No disrespect to Samsonov and Freddie Anderson, the guys that we've had kind of take over Jack Campbell take over the starting position here in Toronto before, but there was always a sense of unease maybe when those guys were in net. Not necessarily that they were gonna blow it, but like that sneaky goal from behind the goal line off the guy's ass was going to happen. Obviously, very early on here in Stolarz' time in Toronto, but I don't really feel that right now. It's kind of a nice, comforting feeling as someone watching these games from a fan perspective. Like I don't feel like that big heartbreaking goal is coming. Even the couple goals that went in tonight, the one, I mean, you could speak to it way better than I could, but I don't really think that it's his fault in terms of like, yeah, he tries to scramble across, but JT kicks the puck in. Like, that's just a shitty
Yeah.
bounce kind of thing.
Yeah, that's just a tough one. It's chaos. He kind of he kind of, if you watch the play again, he kind of bounces off his post into the middle of the ice. He kind of shoots out a bit, which I don't think he would do again. I think just the way he was playing it with his size, he'd probably play deeper. But it's a scramble.
Yeah.
The other goal, the Turcotte goal, was like a grade A chance and just a bad play by the fourth line, in my opinion, especially at the start of the third period in a 5-0 game, where I thought at times the fourth line had some really good shifts too. And for me, it's a timely save late in the period where Kempe comes in and just walks Jake McCabe and gets a really good look on him, and he makes a big save. And that's when the game, I think, at that point was either 2-0 or 3-0 late in the first period. And those are key saves, right? And sometimes it's not how many you make, it's when you make them. And right now, I agree with what you're saying, Zach. There is it's like a wave of confidence when you're watching them. You know, like that shitter's not going to go in. And you think back of some bad, timely goals, even like watching that Amazon series and watching that goal go in on Samsonov, the Frederick,
Frederick,
right? Frederick, like just watching that, you're like, how the hell did that go in? Like in the playoffs, that we're watching game 4 right now, and that can't go in.
Yeah.
So watching it again, like you're like, those are the ones that just can't go in, and those are absolute killers. And for a team, I think come playoff time, there can't be, for a lot of veteran guys here that are almost fragile come playoff time, right? They need that guy to be rock solid and to make those big saves and not give up any softies.
Okay, let's get off goalies. You're not just the goalie guy. I had some stuff I was dying to ask you. I wanted to know even just my own personal interest right away. But I'm curious what you make about the Leafs' defensive play and the style change that we've seen here under Craig Berube through the first couple of games. It's early. It's not a big sample size. But Nick tweeted out, this Leafs team has allowed 6 goals through the first 4 games. And regardless of how you want to spin it, how you want to look at it, or if you want to pick apart, certain instances of things that, in your opinion, shouldn't have gone in, people sitting at home watching, it's been a change. It's a little bit of a heavier, slower game. And it's not this crazy offensive uproar. I mean, despite a 6-2 victory here tonight, so maybe not the best example of that, but it's been a transformation, and it's noticeable. What have you made of this so far? Is this only just kind of the tip of the iceberg that we're seeing under Berube? And how much more of like a playoff setup team and style is this than what we've seen out of them in the past?
I think you tied it really well together at the end about the playoff style, right? So Craig Berube is a guy that's won a Stanley Cup. I was with him in St. Louis for a few years. Wasn't the head coach. He ended up coming in the year after I left when Yo got fired and took over and took him to the Cup, right? But Chief is a guy that just demands accountability, right? You'll hear him talk about that all the time. And he's going to get guys to play the right way and more consistent and set this team up for success. Because at the end of the day, Berube knows the situation he's walking into where he needs to build this team and get them to play the way right now. It might not be as sexy at times. It's going to get guys to buy in. You know what gives me the feeling? I actually went my first fantasy draft this year for hockey. Never been in one. So I went one. A little off story. And I had second pick. Okay. People might get mad at me about my pick, but so McDavid went 1. I had second pick. I took Kucherov over Matthews. I want to take Matthews because I thought he was going to have less of a year because of the way Berube was going to come in and change the culture and get these guys to buy into playing more of a complete game. And that was my theory in my head.
That's a good
pick. I know. But I also think that this is gives me the Barry Trotz feel when he went to Washington and he had all these superstars that wanted to play offense, where now he's getting guys to buy in to play the right way consistently. And I think the back end there is some big bodies there. OEL played 21 minutes tonight. He led the Leafs in ice time, and it's impressive right now watching him play. He looks reinvigorated being there, and so far so good with Chief in charge.
Yeah, I mean, it was one of the things I kind of talked about before, hoping, and I brought it up with Rosie a little bit. We talked about like the accountability factor. How many times with these guys in the past would you see? I mean, the most shocking example always that I'll never forget is when Sheldon Keefe came out and called out Marner. I think it was against Anaheim like 2 years ago, and then the next day came back and walked back the comments. Very specific example of what happened with a couple guys there, but it was just he wasn't going to hold their feet to the fire to the same degree. John Tavares goes out for a game. I talked about it right before you came on. He goes out for a game and second line plays really well. It didn't matter because he would come back and then Sheldon Keefe would say, hey, put these guys back together. That was just kind of how things were from an organizational perspective before. It's not the way it is now. A line plays really well. You've earned these minutes. You're going to get those opportunities. Seeing some of these guys have to buy in the way that we saw Barry Trotz do in Washington. Hey, Ovi, you're not going to play defense. Sit your ass to the bench for an entire period. Like, you have to buy in because this is the way the team plays. I don't care how you play. It's the way the team plays, and you're going to play that way. And it feels like early on there's been an adaptation to Craig Berube's style. It might be a little bit of a tough one for people to swallow at first, but I think it's the right way to play, and I think it's the best thing for this organization so far. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything, and drop a like.